Hello and welcome to Queued Pixel. Today I'm continuing my open source JavaScript work, working on my craps table chatbot. Tonight is a bit of a special stream for me. I'm streaming outside of my normal stream time. I normally stream Sunday mornings starting at 9 a.m. United States Pacific time. But I'm trying to get a little bit more streaming time in. I'm just experimenting with a couple of different time slots. And this time slot this evening opened up for me. So here I am, 6:30 p.m. on Friday, giving it a try. But as I said, my regular schedule is Sunday mornings starting at 9 a.m. My next regular stream, or my next scheduled stream, will be Sunday, June 23rd at 9 a.m. United States Pacific time. Note that I will not be streaming, or I don't plan to be streaming this Sunday, because that is Father's Day, and I want to be sure I spend some time with my father. But depending on our schedule, I might still be able to stream anyway, so we'll see. But my next planned scheduled stream will be on Sunday, June 23rd. Let's begin, as always, by looking at my project notes, look at the work I've been doing and the work I want to do going forward. So my last stream was over the weekend on Sunday, and I worked on implementing stricter integer parsing. So in this case, the built-in JavaScript integer parsing is pretty loose. It allows you to type in some numbers followed by some non-numbers, and it'll still parse correctly. And it leads to some potentially weird issues. If you wanted to type a 10, but you fat-fingered the 0 and hit an O instead, your number will be parsed as a 1. And so I threw in a regular expression check to make that a little bit more strict so that you have to have nothing but a number in order for that to parse correctly. I refactored code for processing command prefixes into new functions. Let's see, I think this was... I was looking for, I think this is to get the command prefix. Let's just bring that up here. It's easy to show that. Oh, I don't even have Atom up yet. Let's go ahead and open up Atom and take a look here. Yeah, I think I made a util class, and we made a collapse space function that would strip out all extra space out of a string, remove leading space, remove trailing space, and replace multiple spaces with a single space. So that way we can just guarantee some standardization for the commands that people might type into the chat room. We also have get command prefix. This basically gets the first word that is delimited by space. And then get command remainder. This gets everything else. So we get the first word, and then this gets everything after the first word. And that's kind of a common pattern with my command processing, was to get the prefix that tells you what command you're running, and then everything else was kind of the command data or subcommands or parameters or whatever. It's there's a couple layers of processing depending on what command you're using. Let's see, I also reviewed our help messages and added a little help message to most error messages. So this basically says, hey, this broke, but you can use this help command to get more information if you want. Added a note to the guide. This is our player guide that you cannot bet when you're the banker. So just notice a small lack of documentation there. And finally, I've been working on a scripting engine so that we can add some basic scripting to the bot, so that you can add in some statements like, well, when this happens, do this. Some very simple if-else logic. And so the very start of the scripting engine was to add the ability to evaluate a print command. Very basic, just kind of wanted to start something. I was kind of at the tail end of my stream last time. and just wanted to start working on that, but there's a whole lot of extra work to go into that. There's there's the eval command with print that we've done. There's variable handling. There's expression handling. We want to be able to do a bet command with all the expression handling there. Add program support, and here's kind of a prototype of what this might look like. There's some different commands you might be able to use to get that to go. Some program examples that I'll want to try. Support for multiple statements, support for system-defined variables, and user-defined variables. So a whole lot of stuff I want to go into my crap stable chatbot. What I want to work on today, though, is to allow the bot to use the chat room. What I've done is I've actually created a custom chat room on Twitch. Let me go bring up my my chat room here. Yeah, so for those who don't know how this works, you have the stream chat, which I have a click here, and I type here. This goes to the stream chat that you all see. I've also created a new chat room called Craps, and I believe this should be accessible to everyone. So if you go into chat and say go to rooms in the upper right hand corner, you should be able to see the Craps room, and this is where I'm going to have my bot connect. Now, there's a couple of issues that I've run into with this. First is that Stream Elements moderator bot can't talk to the Craps room for whatever reason. Hello, Stevewood1990. Welcome back to the stream. And so my moderator bot can't talk there, so I have a couple of commands for my moderator bot that I'd like to be able to use, but they're just not available. So what I want to do is add a force command that will allow the administrator or the bot owner to run a command as another user. That'll be critical for testing purposes. I think that's kind of the main thing I need to fix first. We have a couple of other options that I think will help as well. Add a banker queue and allow the bot to serve as the banker if no one volunteers. But I think this next one, clean up the debug log, is the other major issue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to configure the chatbot to connect to this new Craps channel and just see how that works. I've done some basic testing with this off stream. I'm just going to fire it up on stream, see what it does, and just start working through some of these issues here. So first up, let's go look at my configuration and get that configured here. You give it the channel you want to connect to without the pound sign, or not the number character, I guess. I don't know what they would call that. And I've got my channel around here somewhere. Here it is. It's this ugly string. It's the chat room's channel, followed by my Twitch numeric identifier. You get that through the Twitch API, and then the UID or the GUID associated with my Craps chat room. And let's go give that a try. I'm not going to try to format this. It's just too much to try to line up everything else. Let's go give that a try, see what that does. Hope I still got my stream overlay running. Let me go kill that real fast. Alright, so we've joined the chat room. This room is no longer in slow mode. I'm not sure what that message means. And let's go give this a quick try. Gotta go find the right browser window here. I got multiple browsers up. And so if I give it a basic Craps command, like say Craps help, we get this log here. It has this huge nasty message, which isn't so great. And then we got a duplicate message here. And so I think probably the first thing is to clean up the debug log and see if we can get rid of these duplicate messages here and clean up this this chat channel name. Yeah, so you guys gotta see something. I see a 1 showed up in my main chat room. I think that's telling me that someone was typing in another chat room. I'm not sure. I haven't used chat rooms before, so I'm not really familiar with how they work, so it's going to be a bit of an experiment for me to figure out how all this works. Yeah, I don't see anything showing up here. I don't like a one notification to the left of this guy here in my mainstream chat. Let's just see. Let's say craps test. Ah, yes. Okay, what's happening is the Q test bot is pinging me, and that's what's bringing up the notification. I see now. Okay. So I'm probably just have to ignore that for the most part. Alright, so let's take a look. I think the debug log is actually controlled by a rather simple flag, and I think I just set debug to true when I connect to my Twitch channel here. Yeah, so debug true, secure true, username auth. Let's just try setting debug to false and see what this does here. Alright, so we've eliminated all of these debug statements here. We don't have connecting, we don't have sending, we don't have connected, we don't have joined. And I'm guessing we're not going to see any of the chat messages. Let's just go give that a test here. Say craps test. Yeah, so the bot responds, but it is not printing out any of the chat messages. So let's go ahead and build a simple logger here. We have the client on chat. If it's not in the channel, return. If it's ourself, return. Let's just do a simple print and see what we get here. So console.log. We probably want the username. User state dot username plus message. Just checking my pings over here. Those pings showing up in my notification bar are a little distracting, so I'm just going to have to learn to ignore those, I think. Alright, so this is a start, but what we need is to add in just a little bit more information. Like if we want to do the same formatting, we can do the angle brackets around the name followed by a colon, followed by the message. So let's just give that a try. So we'll say angle brackets around the name. And we said what? Followed by a colon, followed by the message. Let's just go ahead and see what that does here. Nice, so we get my message showing up. We get the message from the bot. And so yeah, my guess is interesting. I wonder if the self-test is not going to work here, because this should have skipped if the message is not, or is from us, but this is not firing. So maybe the chat room's logic doesn't handle that. But if we connect to a regular chat room, like let's go back and connect to my normal channel briefly to just check and see here. I think this is just the cute pixel channel. Let's comment this out. And just do the plain cute pixel so it'll connect to the main chat room, the stream chat. And we'll test the same logging procedure here. So I just want to make sure that this will work in both contexts, and I might have to get a little creative to get this to work in both the regular chat room and in the craps chat room. As we're connecting to my main chat room, so I'm going to go into my regular stream chat, say craps test, and see what that does here. And yeah, so we get the message back in the stream chat, but we don't see it logged here. And so yes, the self-test must only fire if we're in the stream chat, and maybe there's a bug or there's just a difference in how Twitch handles messages set in a chat room. This is probably fine. Probably the solution here is to just do something like this. Log all chat messages. Since we don't have all these on one-liners anymore, we can just clean up these comments here. Is there anything else we want to add? We had a timestamp earlier. So timestamp info : and then the room itself. The only reason I'm pausing with the timestamp is because I know that's going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. And so I think for the moment I am not going to bother with the timestamp, and we'll just see if I end up missing that. That's always something I can add later on if I need to. Alright, so let's go back to our craps room. A really long chat room name again. Let's give it another try. Make sure that it also works in this context. So you get my right browser window. I think this is the one. Craps test. Oh, what? Aww. Oh my goodness. Well, that's really interesting. So we, we get the message twice. Apparently once with self set to true, and the second time with self set to false. Well, that's annoying. What do we do about that? Oh, this is a real pain in the butt, because I don't see an easy way to make this work in both contexts. Let's see what information I get in the user state variable. It's possible that user state will give me something useful. Console.log user state. I think there might be like a message ID in there or something. Let's just see what we get for this. Actually, you know what? Let's log everything that we get here. We have user state. Let's do a chat channel just to make sure that that is what we would expect here. User state, message, and self. Actually, user state's going to be complicated. Let's try message and self. Let's say channel, splat. Let's do message next. Message. Let's do self next. And finally, we'll just log user state on its own line there, because it's a complex object, if I remember correctly. Yeah, let's just see what we get here. All right, so we got a few messages here. We have channel is what we'd expect. Messages, craps test. Then the user state. We have badge info, badges, color, display name, emotes, flags, ID. This might be a unique message ID. Mod false, room ID. TMI since timestamp. I'm assuming that's a timestamp. True or false, user ID, user type, emotes raw. So possibly the ID might be unique. Just making sure that's not the chat room ID. Looks like that's not. And here we have a message from queued test. I don't see the ID statement here. This is self true. And here we have the repeat, self false, and we do have an ID now. So when self is true, we do not get the ID. When self is false, we do get it. Well, I think I want to compare this with what happens in the stream chat, so I'm just going to switch over to stream chat and see what we get there. I'll just do the same test over there, see what we get. All right, so we have our two messages. We have my message, the craps test message. We have our ID, and then we have the message from queued test. And we have self true. And no message ID here either. So what we're missing is we are missing the second message that says self-false with the ID. And so what other options do we have here? We have username. We have access to our username. We could certainly query based on that. So rather than the self flag or self parameter, we could just check username. Of course, if somebody logs in as queued test, like if I was to log in as queued test and try to interact with the bot, would I want to do that? Probably not. I mean, that'd be pretty weird. And so having it ignore itself, even though that message came from another user logged in as that account. But I think that's what self means, where it believes that that message came from not just your user, but your connection. And I think if I was to log in as queued test in my regular chat room and type in a message, I would see it with self-false, no problem. And so if I check based on username or limit based on username, that would limit or prevent those messages. That's probably fine. if somebody complains, they can always change it, I suppose. But until Twitch fixes the chat room protocol so that self works properly, or at least it works the same as it does for stream chat, I don't really have much of a choice here. Now let's comment this out for now. I think we got our logging needs met. And I think we're going to just do this the same as we had before, actually. So let's do back to this, because we're just going to do all one-liners on this now. Let's get this for another chat channel. Move this down. Skip with the messages from us. And this we'll just have to be a little more careful. Like if user state.username .to. Well, let's look this up, how to do two lowercase properly. Let's grab this statement here. It's not exactly what we want, but it's a nice template. So if username, so it's going to be user state dot username, two lowercase. If that equals config dot what? Let's see. Let's check our config again. Do we give our username here? We give our channel. We give our owner. Let's switch back to our Craps channel here, Craps room, I should say. And so yeah, the auth probably comes from. Let's check my documentation. This is why I do documentation here. Let's just read that real fast. Create a file in your home directory called .twitchauth with the following contents: username equals username, auth equals auth. So I have to read this file. I'm not going to bring this up on stream because this auth is a secret that I can't accidentally stream. So I'm not going to open that file. But we can see how we use it. Looks like we have twitchauth.username. So let's just grab that. What are the two lowercase on that? This is just to ensure that if somebody accidentally uppercases their username, or if Twitch accidentally uppercases it for us or changes their standard for whatever reason, that it won't screw us up. So if username two lowercase equals the Twitch auth username two lowercase, then we return. Bring this up. I was afraid of that. Alright, so we'll just pull this out. Yeah, so this will basically skip every single message that comes from us. So once we get this working, we'll have to log our messages in another approach. I have a sense as to how to do that, so I'll just make sure this works, and then I'll go back and log those messages using that other approach. So let's go take a look. I think I've updated the config to go to my Craps room. Yep, still going to our Craps chat room there. So let's bounce this and give that a try. Oh, I've got a bug here, line 109. Looks like probably a bad comment. Oh, I screwed up my comment there. I uncommented my comment for whatever reason. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's go give that a try. Let's go tab over to my Craps room. Something's broken. Let's see what I broke. Not equals. We want to do an equals. Let's try that one more time. the code I copied from was clearly we're focused on the not equals case. Alright, so we have our message. The craps test goes through. The response goes through now. But we don't log the response. So let's go look up the code for sending the response. I think we have a process queue or send process message queue. Here we are. Yeah, we have client.say, yada yada yada. Let's just grab the same code as before. Console.log, user state.username in this case is going to be, how's it, Twitch auth.username? I hope this works. I'm not sure about context for JavaScript variables. I believe it's a global at this point, so it should be accessible, but we'll just see. So switch off username, and then we have message. Okay, so we want to say var message is equal to, grab that, because we can't do shift twice. Shift is what pulls it out of our priority queue, or I don't think it's a priority queue, just our message queue there. Yeah, so I get the message from our queue, we say it to the chat room, and then we log it. And I see a little bit of duplicate code here I could potentially refactor. Let me just test this first, and once I get this working, then we can look at refactoring that. So as before, let's just send another craps test message. Oh, look at that. The username is uppercased in the Twitch auth file. Ugh. So that's a good thing I did this this to lowercase here and standardized on that. Of course, what that means is I need to have this match everything else. I need to just lowercase it again. So I'm just going to go grab that. And let's try that one more time. All right, great. So we have our user here, queued pixel craps test, then we have queued test, responding and recognize command for help, craps help. Let's just compare this to what we were logging before. And yeah, so what we were logging before was lowercase name. So this is roughly equivalent to what we were logging before. What we're missing is the name of the chat room, which is the spot only connects to one chat room. That's not a big deal. We're missing the word info, which who cares? And we're missing the timestamp, which I might want to go back and add at some point. Otherwise, I think this looks good. Yeah, so we have a little bit of duplicate code. Let's just create a quick helper function to log chat messages. Where would that go? Actually, this is just the connection framework here. Let's just put this at the very top. I haven't done a whole lot of work with this class here, or this file. We've got our message queue functionality here. Let's just do a new function. Say function log message. We'll get a username and a message. It'll look pretty close to this guy. I'll just grab this guy for the moment. Yeah, so we don't have the user state any longer. We just do username. And we just have our parameters there, so that's great. Now let's call this in the places where we're logging messages. So this will be log message. The first parameter will be user state username and the message. So the reason for this refactoring is because we have this duplicate bit of logic here, this formatting logic in this case, and I just don't want to duplicate it. If I change my mind about formatting or casing or whatnot, I just want to have only one spot to change that. And it's just, might as well just take care of that now while I'm working on it. And this goes here. Let's go grab this guy for username. And message is still the same. So let's just do a quick test to see if that refactoring works. Connect up to the Craps chat room. So again, this is different from my regular stream chat. If you want to interact with this bot, you've got to go to the Craps chat room. And everyone should have access to this. Yep, permissions everyone. To do that, you click up here, go to Rooms, and then select Craps. If you want to chat with me in stream, you could go to Stream Chat, but I just want to separate out the Craps testing from the regular stream chat, because I just found it just clobbers the stream chat, makes it pretty much unreadable. So let's give this a try. Great, so yeah, we still log our message, we still log the response, so that's looking pretty good. Yes, I think I got a little more cleanup to do. I've got some commented out code that we no longer need. Everything else should be fine. So the only thing we've really added at this point is we log messages in the client on chat, and we change this to skip if the username matches our username, because we found that the self variable wasn't working quite right in chat rooms. And we also added a log message here in process message queue. This is for a message that we send. And refactored everything to log message just to simplify that a little bit, because we have our kind of special format in here, the username in angle brackets followed by the message. So I think that's a good commit. Let's go look up our Git status and see where we are at. Yeah, so this just covers everything I've talked about. We've added log message. We've changed our code to send messages. We get the message, and then we say it, and then we log it. We set debug to false, because we found the default debug log just wasn't really working for us any longer, and so we've now had to add stuff back manually into that debug log that we were now missing. I just changed some formatting here. Skip of messages for another chat channel. This should never really happen, but in case an oddball message does come in, we will ignore it. Skip if the message is not from us. What we used to do is look for the self parameter, and that wasn't sufficient for messages sent to a chat room. Works fine for the stream chat, but doesn't work for the chat room. And so instead, we check username and skip if the message is from us. Otherwise, we log all chat messages, and then everything else here is pretty much the same with a little bit of reordering. Yeah, so let's see here. Clean up debug log. The channel name is ugly. Remove duplicate messages sent by chatbot. Yeah, let's just say, turn debugging off. Turn debugging off and log our own chat messages. Actually, it's not log our own, and let's just say log chat messages. There we go. As we log our own, we also log chat messages from other people as well. Yeah, let's go commit that and see what's next. Alright, so what's next on my list here? So we're working on allowing the bot to use the chat room. We've cleaned up the debug log. We no longer print out the channel name since we basically turn debugging off when we do our own logging now, and we remove duplicate messages sent by the chatbot. Yeah, so there's a little bit of work to fix that up, but that's all working now. Up next is to add a force command to allow the bot owner to run a command as another user. Yeah, so the issue here is is the bot running right now? Let's take a look. Yep, bot is running. So I'm going to go to my regular stream chat here. I've set up some stream elements commands to allow it to interact with the bot, like bot banker is one example, and you can see I just type that into a stream chat and you see that show up there. What doesn't happen though is stream elements does not connect to the craps chat room. So if I say bot banker over here, nothing happens. And so the only way to interact with a bot is if somebody interacts with it directly. I need a way, for testing purposes, if nobody's around to help me test, I need a way of pretending to be other users, because that's where this force command comes into play. If I want to do something like, craps force, give it a username, say test1, to then run this command would kind of be my example there. Of course, this doesn't work because I haven't written that support for that command yet. So let's go take a look. This is going to come to play into the craps table file. We have our command name processing. But let's just add in a new force command. Let's put this at top. It'll be an admin command. And we'll say force command. Give a username and command data. So username is who is running it. Command data will be everything it needs to perform the command. Let's just copy and paste roll command for the moment. I won't use the whole thing, but the very beginning will at least be useful for me here. Alright, so again, we want to make sure that you're authorized to run the command. Well, first let's change the function name, force command. You need to be authorized, debugging needs to be enabled. Banker doesn't matter. We have command data.length is 0. So this is going to be a little bit different in that we're not talking about rolling, and let's get rid of all this junk here. None of this matters. Yeah, so if command data.length is 0, what we need to do is to give it an error saying you must specify who you are forcing to run a command. We'll specify who you are forcing to run a command. And then as before, let's grab our typical command processing logic. We'll have command name and command data. The names will be a little bit different here because we're not doing command name. It's like forced user. Forced username, we'll go with that. Get command prefix from command data. And then we'll say forced command is equal to get command remainder off of command data. So we'll call this dot, I think it's what, process command? Yeah, process command. And give a username, comma, or forced username, sorry. And I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that all of this is going to be too lowercase. If I call get command prefix, I think that will lowercase the prefix. Get command remainder does not. This will still be fine. Let's just look at this real fast. Yeah, get command prefix does do a 2 lowercase. Get command remainder does not. So yeah, this should be fine. Yeah, let's just give this a quick test here. So if I say craps force, you must specify who you are forcing to run a command. Oh, then it gives me the help message. Let's drop that. We don't need help messages for admin commands. Don't know when. Trying to copy paste. Let's just type it in. Saying user message rather than help message will get rid of that help message text. But that much works at least. So let's give this another try here. There's a craps force, say test 1. Let's try this again. Did I restart the bot? I did, alright. Yeah, so let's try craps force test 1. And also, now it responds to test 1 as if test 1 issued that command. And so if I was to now issue a admin command, like say craps force test 1 roll, test 1, you are not authorized to use this command. Excellent. But if instead I say craps force test 1 banker, test 1 is the banker. Now if I bet, say craps bet, let's just do any 7 or 25. Let's go bring up my bot console here so I can see what's going on here. Craps force, you must specify who you're forcing. Craps force test 1. Test 1 you must specify. Not authorized. Now let's go force a quick roll here. So craps roll. Now let's do a quick 7 out. Say craps roll 3, 4. And it is exactly as if test 1 is in the stream, where test 1 is issuing those commands. They now have a balance. If I was to do a test 2 command, that would show up as well. And so yeah, that's like 90% of what I need to allow me to use this in a chat room. The other stuff I've documented is useful, but not strictly necessary. Now the next is to add a banker queue, allow the bot to serve as the banker if no one volunteers. Those are niceties that I think I want to add simply because I keep running into issues where I have to keep adding the same banker over and over and over and over again. And it's like, if only one person wants to be the banker, why not just let them be the banker until somebody else wants to be the banker? Or if nobody wants to be the banker, allow the bot to serve as the banker. So that's kind of the thought there. But I think we're at a good commit point here. Let's just go look up our git status and see where we're at. Yeah, so we've added a new force command. We calls the force command function. It does the same stuff we do for the other admin commands. And in fact, I'm beginning to see a bit of a code smell here as well. We've got some duplicate code in that this and this is the same for both force command and roll command. So yeah, let's go take a look at just doing a simple refactoring here. Let's see. Just trying to think of different names here for the command. There's is authorized, admin authorized, verify admin, maybe authorize admin command. Let's take the username for whoever is trying to run the command. And let's just go grab these guys here. Alright, so if you're not the administrator, return false. If debugging is not enabled, return false. We'll say if this authorize admin command, give it username. Just username, because it'll lowercase it already. If not that, then return. Say skip if the user is not authorized to use admin commands. Go to the same thing for the roll command. Let's do a quick test, see if that much works. Alright, so I should be allowed to run these things, so I'll say craps roll myself. Oh, something's broken. Let's go take a look. Let's just see if we're getting this far. I'm not really sure what's broken at this point. Let's we're getting the roll command. Oh, you know what? I never did a return true. We got all return falses, but we never did a return true, so that's probably why it's failing. Let's give this another try. There we go, we need a banker before we can roll the dice. Now let's try a simple test, so craps force test. Actually, what I want to do is craps force test force. Test, you are not authorized to use this command. Excellent, so that much works. Now let's go turn debugging off. Enable debugging to use this command. Nice, yeah, so that works just fine. Let's go ahead, turn debugging back on. We should probably document this command here real fast. Forcing commands. You can force other players to issue commands using the craps force command. Oops, I pulled this example from there. Let's go do that. As an example, craps force user. So user in parentheses, or not parentheses, but in square brackets. Force username to do what? Say bet pass for 1. Let's see, let's add out of this and say you must first specify the username to run the command, and then the command to run without the craps prefix. I would just make sure that this formatting does work. I think I've used that formatting in my player guide. Yeah, so that should work fine. Oh, we need the exclamation. Just reviewing the documentation real fast here. I think it looks good. I think it's pretty clear what is going on. So let's take a look at our commit. Alright, so we've added our authorize admin command. It basically handles the username check and the debug check. Returns false if you're not allowed to run it, returns true otherwise if you are allowed to run it. We've added force command. Now, with authorized return, we make sure that you've given it some command data. In this case, at least you've specified a username. We get the username, we get the command, the forced username and the forced command. We then recursively call forced command to do it again. Now, this is interesting in that we could set up a recursive call here. If you force someone who is allowed to run admin commands, you could force them to force someone to force them to do something. Obviously, you probably don't want to do that, but there's nothing stopping you, I suppose. But let's just test that just for kicks here. Say craps force. Give myself cute pixel. And let's force me again, and again, and again, and again, to be the banker. Enable debugging, use this command. Well, let's go ahead and re-enable debugging and try that again, just for kicks here. I think we're done with this. Debug is true, but I guess I need to bounce my bot. I haven't bounced my bot yet, so let's give that a try. Yeah, so it works just fine. Obviously, in most cases, nobody would really want to do that, but if an admin did want to try to crash their bot by typing in a super long forced command, who am I to stop them, I suppose? I will trust admins to behave themselves properly. Yeah, so let's take a look here. So we've added the force command, we've updated the roll command to do that refactoring. We've added our documentation. We'll redo this. Add a force command to allow the bot owner to run a command as another user. Sure, let's see if that commit is small enough. It looks a little too lengthy. We can drop the word A, add force command to allow the bot owner. We could drop this, I suppose. I think that works. Well, I can't do this in my console because I have those quotes, so let's just do it via the editor here. Yes, I've made a documentation change. Let's go ahead and push this to GitHub and take a quick look. Gotta get the right browser window here. I've only got a dozen browser windows up. Go force other players issue commands using the craps force command. You must first reserve the username to run the command, and then the command to run without a craps prefix. Example, craps force username bet pass 1. I think that works for me. Although I might change issue to run now that I have a chance to look at it here. As I say, run here. We just did what? We basically run when documenting the force. Pretty simple commit, but I like to have the documentation be working pretty well here. So let's go ahead and add this. Use my editor again because again I've got quotes in my commit message. And go ahead and push that as well. That's one of the reasons why I don't always like to push commits right away. Sometimes I'll review and find a small issue, almost immediately. But with documentation, it's hard to review the documentation without pushing it to GitHub first. And so that's what I do. And it sometimes means I have these extraneous commits like that, unfortunately. But I think it looks good. Let's go back to our to-do list and see where we're at. That's right, I've added the force command. We have banker queue and allow the bot to serve as a banker if no one volunteers. Let's see, I think we can do the banker queue. I need a quick break before I hop into that bit of work here, so I'm going to step away for about 10 minutes. And then when I get back, I will hop into the banker queue option and just see how that works. So don't go away, I'll be back in about 10 minutes. And we're back. Thank you for your patience. Just needed to take a quick break there before I continued on with my work here. I was just browsing Reddit, and it looks like Twitch is down for a lot of people right now. It appears to be working for me. I'm able to see my stream preview, and I'm not seeing any drop frames or any errors from my end, but if you certainly see any issues, let me know, and I'll see if I can try to address it. But as far as I'm aware, whatever is affecting Twitch is not affecting me, and I hope it is not affecting you guys either. I think in the meantime, we'll just continue on as best I can, and hopefully the things with Twitch will continue to work fine for me and for you guys. Alright, so I want to add a banker queue. Before I hop into this, what I think I want to do is let's clear out my player database. Since Stream Elements is not going to be able to play with us any longer, let's clear out Stream Elements entirely. I'll probably generate a handful of test users, test 1 through test 9 would be my guess. So we'll just reset all this and start from scratch. Yeah, I think we can now allow the bot to use the chat room. I think that's fine now. With the force command and stuff like that. But these two will allow other people to play as well if they don't have me or someone else around who can run admin commands. Allowing the bot to serve as the banker with no one volunteers would be kind of handy. So let's give that a try here. Yeah, so banker queue. Let's go look up the code for how we handle bankers. So this will be under craps table. We have a banker variable. This tells us who the banker currently is. It's null if we have no banker. And so what we probably need to do is add in, well, I keep calling it a queue, but JavaScript doesn't have a native queue data type, and so this would pretty much be an array data type. And you can see how we used a queue or an array as a queue in my Twitch craps bot code here. I've created this message queue as an array. If the queue is empty, we don't do anything. Otherwise, we do a shift. Shift basically takes the first item off the array, returns it, and then shifts everything down one. It's really inefficient for arrays to do that, and so the only reason I'm doing that here is because I know that the array isn't going to be huge. If I felt that there's going to be a large number of messages in that queue, and I wanted that to be more efficiently handled, I would obviously want to treat that a little more carefully, but yeah, there's usually going to be at most one message in the queue, because it just processes one message at a time. Now, there's a few cases where we might have 2 or 3 messages in, but not very long at all. So yeah, so I think it's the shift and the push. So push and shift are the two. Push adds something to the end of the array, and shift takes it out of the front of the array. Let's just do banker queue. They get an empty array. We'll start with that. Let's go see who uses banker. This dot banker. So we get to banker balance. If there is no banker, it just it throws an error. Apparently, I'm counting on the fact that this code will never be called when there's no banker. class as bets. This deducts or adds to the banker balance. So here's a bit of code that I knew I was going to see at some point. This bets exist, and this point is equal to 0. This is kind of my table activity indicator. You have bets. As long as bets exist, or as long as we have a point, the table is considered active, and we're going to continue to roll the dice until we either don't have a point and we have no more bets. And so whenever we're processing a roll, at the end of the roll, we have no bets and we have no point. The table is no longer active. We set the banker to null to indicate we have no banker. We send out a new message. We need a new banker. And so to think through what to do about this, let's just continue to look for places where we call this .banker. We have banker command here. We have roll command. You can't use the roll command if you don't have a banker. If you call the balance command, if you are the banker, you get the available banker balance versus available balance. Banker command. If banker is null, or is not null, we say who the banker is. The banker. Bet command doesn't allow you to bet if you don't have a banker, and you can't bet if you are the banker. So most of this probably doesn't need to change. So this one to think about here. Let's try to think through what we want to do here. We have this display max payout. We have this cooldown on the banker. This is probably so you can only run this command once per point, the banker command. Which probably still makes sense. Might make more sense to allow it to run per roll. So let's go change this. We'll start with that. Do we have any other kind of cooldowns I do per roll? Yeah, allow all players to use the once per roll commands again. Yeah, so let's go find that banker cooldown and go reset that. Yeah, let's check the order on that. So we have balance, bets, banker. Balance, banker, bets. Let's put banker in the middle. So balance, banker, bets. Let's line that up. So nice simple change there. Then what's next? Well, so to reset the banker, select the next banker. Let's see if this .banker queue is empty. Let's go check how we check length here. I guess it's just .length equals 0. If this banker queue.length is equal to 0, or say not equal to 0, we'll start with the 0 case first. Then we'll do the else case. Come on. Let's check the banker command here. Yeah, we don't really have a great example here. Actually, probably want to do this on message. We'll just grab this guy. And we'll say plus this dot banker plus is still the banker. Then we're going to want to do a check and display the max payout if the max payout has changed, or if there's a chance that it's changed. So if we had any bet results where people were paid or people lost money, then the max payout has possibly changed as well. So if bet results displayed, display the max payout. Otherwise, yeah, so this means no one is signed up to be the banker. So otherwise, someone has signed up to be the banker. Let's say this dot banker is going to be equal to shift of the banker queue. Call it banker queue.shift. Again, that just returns the first element and shifts everything else up one in the array. And lowers the array length by 1 as well, I believe. And we'll say this dot banker is now the banker. Is the new banker. At this time, let's display the max payout because we've changed the banker. The max payout has almost certainly changed. So we no longer need this. We're no longer setting the banker to null. So basically, once you become the banker, you will remain the banker until somebody else enters the queue as the banker. Let's continue to look for references to this.banker and see what we can fix up here. So we fixed all this. banker command is probably going to be the place that's left. We have roll command, balance command, and banker command. Alrighty. So how the banker command works right now is if the banker is not null, it just tells you who is the banker and returns. If banker is null, then you become the banker, and that's that. So I think if banker is not null, we then want to see if you're in the queue. So I think we have a way of checking this. I think this command cooldown has a way of checking if you're in a... Yeah, so if array includes blah, 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 blah. So if instead of cooldown array, it is this dot banker queue. If this banker queue includes you, actually first let's do a simple test here and see if you're the banker. So if this banker is null, so if this banker is equal to you, we'll say you are the banker. Don't want to yell. We'll get rid of those exclamation marks. And then if you're in the queue, so if you're not the current banker, but you're in the queue, you're in the banker queue already. You're already the banker. You're already in the banker queue. Now it's just too lengthy here.
Here we go.
Actually, let's just do this currently instead of already. Otherwise, let's go ahead and add them to the queue. So we have, I think it's push. We'll just grab the push option here. So this dot banker queue dot push username. Oh yeah, we need to add returns to this here. No, we don't continue processing these things. So we add them to the queue. banker queue. Don't need a return here, that doesn't matter. Let's spell added correctly. Otherwise, if we don't have a banker at all, editor formatting. We could do this. Same as we do now, you become the banker immediately, set the banker username, display the user message or the banker, then display the max payout. So if the banker is not null, we check to see if the banker is you. If it is, we tell you that in return. If you're already in the queue, we tell you you're in the queue and then return. Otherwise, we add you to the queue, tell you've been added. If we have no banker, you're made the banker immediately. You're told that, display the max payout, and we're done. So I think that's it. The only thing that is really missing here that's still on my list is to add the ability to remove yourself as banker once you're added, which I think I'm going to do as part of this next work here. Allow the bot to serve as the banker if no one volunteers. So until I have this working, I'm not going to add the ability for someone to remove themselves as the banker. So let's give this a try, see how this works here. Alright, now I'm going to read players.json, resetting player balances. Yep, I did delete our players data file just because we had some players that we're no longer going to be able to play, like Stream Elements is no longer around. So let's open up. And if you want to play with the bot, you're welcome to do so. Note that you have to join our Craps chat room in order to do so. So you have the regular stream chat where you can interact with me, and then we have the Craps room if you want to interact with the Craps bot. So let's just test the basic stuff here. So if I try to do a bet without a banker present, this should still fail here. Put in a banker before you can bet. Alright, so now let's set up a banker. Let's force test 1 to be the banker. So test 1, you are the banker. Max payout is 100. Now let's do a quick bet here. So perhaps bets pass for 1. Well, let's do some quick testing here to see what happens. So let's force a roll. Craps, roll 3, 4, just so we have a quick, easy win. Alright, so test 1 is still the banker. So let's just see if that works. So say craps bet pass 1. We'll force a loser here just to test. Perfect, yeah, so test 1 is still having their balance go up and down. Let's force a roll that is not going to have any money paid out at this point. Because no one's betting, I'm just forcing a roll with no one betting at this point. Yeah, perfect. So we don't see a max payout line because no one lost any money, so that's good. Let's see here. Let's add a new banker to the queue. So craps banker. Actually, force. Let's do a craps force of test2 to be the banker. Test2, you've been added to the banker queue. Let's try that again here. Craps force test2 banker. Okay, great. It's ignoring that because we have our command cooldown, so until the dice are rolled, we're not going to get a change there. So let's force a roll. Craps roll 2-2 will get a point, so that we have a roll, but not a change of the banker just yet. And now let's try the same thing. Craps force test2 to be the banker. You're currently in the banker queue. Excellent. Now let's try the same thing for test 3. So craps force test 3 to be the banker as well. Test 3 has been added to the banker queue. So now let's just do a couple of quick rolls here. Craps roll 3-4 to get our 7 out. Ooh, and we have a crash. This is line 852. It needs to be this dot banker is this dot banker queue dot shift. Let's just do a quick check and see if I've missed any other occurrences of that. So this dot banker queue dot length, this dot banker queue dot shift, this dot banker queue includes, this banker queue push. That looks good. While I'm stopped, I did notice there was a potential bug. Now the issue is what to do if the table is inactive. We have no bets, we have no point, and so the dice aren't rolling, and somebody asks to be the banker at that point. Do we want to allow them to switch immediately, or do we force the current banker, or do we allow the current banker to play one more time before we switch? And I think to make my life easier, I'm going to say that the current banker is going to be allowed to finish before we switch. So I'm not going to make any change here. I may change that when we add in the ability to allow the bot to serve as the banker if no one volunteers. And in fact, probably what we need to do is add in, add ability to remove yourself as banker. So I think if the table is inactive, we have no bets and we have no point, and you want to no longer be the banker, I think you should be allowed to do so. However, unless you explicitly ask yourself to not be banker, then you'll remain until somebody else adds themselves to the queue. And if they add themselves to the queue when the table is not active, then you'll still be allowed to play out one more round, one more series, one more roll. I'm not sure what the right term is. One more round before it switches to the next person. But if you do want to we will allow you to remove yourself if the table is inactive. So that's probably the approach I will take there. All right, let's go give this a try. I think I fixed the bug we saw here. Unexpected end of JSON output. That's not so good. Huh. What happened to my player data? And what happened to my music? My music appears to have crashed. I'm not really sure. That was weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened here. Looks like we might be having a hard time reading our player's JSON file. Let me see here. This is line 139. Yeah, we're reading player balances. Huh. Interesting. We appear to have had a weird crash that wiped out our player's JSON file. Why would that be? Oh, this is probably from the asynchronous nature of JavaScript. And that when we save our player balances, yeah, this is an asynchronous call, and so what happens is we say write file, but it doesn't actually write the file right away. It writes it in asynchronous fashion, and of course what happens is we then proceed to crash. And then the player balance file is in our case not complete or potentially corrupt. Okay, well that's an interesting issue to add to my list. Well, hey, we've actually moved the chat to a different chat room, so that's done. So let's drop that. Access arguments to a command are silently ignored. Yes, we've chosen to do this across the board. So yes, that's now an intentional choice, and so I'm going to remove that from the issues. These are things that I potentially might want to fix. And then if the bot crashes before the players.json file is written, the file gets corrupted. So I just need to think through how to address that. What we might want to do is, I'm not sure if they can turn this into a synchronous call. Because we basically want to wait for this to finish before we proceed. It is not just proceed with the rest of this, but wait. You wait till this proceeds before processing any sort of input, because if one of our chatters has found a bug that's able to crash the bot, they could conceivably crash the bot and corrupt the player's JSON file as well. And so, I'm not sure what the approach is, and honestly, we probably also want to create a backup of this over time, so let's just think of a few things to add here. Consider creating backups of the file. Wait for the file to be written before doing anything else. Yeah, we definitely want that to be written before we do anything else and risk a crash. For now, though, I think I have solved whatever was giving us the bug, so let's just remove the players.json and try it again. Resetting player balances again, that's fine. And go back to here, our chat window, our craps chat room. I'll do the basic testing again. So if I say craps bet pass 1. I should not be allowed to do that because we don't have a banker. So let's do craps force test 1 to be the banker. And try that again. Craps bet pass for 1. And it's making me lose here. Craps roll 1-1. Test 1 is still the banker, and we should have a new max payout. Excellent. So now let's do another roll, but don't bet anything. So craps roll 1-1. Nobody's going to win or lose. Test 1 is still the banker. No max payout. I don't know. I think I want to print out the max payout anyways. Yeah, that actually makes this a lot easier because we can refactor this out, refactor this out. If this line is short enough, I could potentially do that there. No, not quite short enough. I think this still makes sense to only display the max payout if bets were won or lost. But anytime we potentially have a banker change, we'll definitely want to print out the max payout. So I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and give that a quick test. Let's actually run it. There we go. Yeah, so let's set up test 1 to be the banker. Craps force test 1 to be our banker. Now let's do a roll where we don't have anyone win or lose, I should say. Test 1 to sell the banker. Max payout. Boom. I think that's fine. I'm okay with that. And now let's add in test 2 to be the banker. So craps force test 2 to be our banker. And now the table is not active, but we already have test 1 as our banker. And so again, as I said earlier, we're going to keep test 1 on until we have a new banker change, even though the table is inactive. That's kind of their benefit for being the banker already. And we'll add in test 3, craps test 3, force test 3, sorry, craps force test 3 to be the banker. Now let's see if we can add test 1 back. So craps force test 1 to be the banker. And it should complain and say, you're currently the banker. We'll say, let's just do a roll. Craps roll 2-2. And now everyone can run the banker command again. So say craps force test 1 to be the banker. Say test 2, it should be in the queue. Test 3 should be in the queue. Test 4 I've not added yet, so test 4 should be new to the queue now. You've been added to the banker queue. Alright, now let's go ahead and end this roll. So craps roll 3-4, that will end it. Now test 2 is the new banker. Interesting, it doesn't add the new players to the high score yet. I guess it only does that whenever we need to get their balance. That's interesting. Well, let's cycle through this real fast. We'll say craps roll 3, 4. We'll just cycle through these real fast here. Test 3 is the new banker. New max payout is 100. Yep, and now we've added test 3 to the list. Test 4 is the new banker. Now the queue should be empty. Let's just do another roll and see what happens. It should say test 4 is still the banker. Now let's add test 1 back to the queue. So craps force test 1 to be the banker. You've been added to the queue. And let's add 2 and 3 back. And 4 should complain because he's already the banker. So test 1 is into banker. Let's do another roll. So we got test 2 to be the banker now. Let's put test 1 back as the banker, or back in the queue at least. So test 3, and then we'll just go back to test 4. I forget who's in the queue. But back to test 1. And test 1 is still the banker. Alright, that seems to be working just fine. Let's go take a look at our code and prepare a commit with these changes. Alright, so we've added a banker queue array to our member variables. We've moved or adjusted how we handle the cooldown array for the banker. This basically says that players are allowed to run this command once per roll. We used to say this, you could only run this command after we've changed the banker. But now we make that a little more accessible now. And what we used to do is every time the table was inactive, we'd set the banker to null and say we need a new banker. Well, what we do now is if the queue is not empty, if the banker queue is not empty, or sorry, if the banker queue is empty, we say the banker is still the banker. Otherwise, we pull the first item out of the queue, set the banker to that, and issue a message saying this person is the new banker. Always display the new payout. Let's see, we had some changes here. Alright, so this is for the banker command. So if the banker is not null, you check to see if you are the banker. If you are, you say you're currently the banker and return. If the banker queue includes you, we say you're already in the queue and return. Otherwise, we add you to the queue and say you've been added to the queue. If we have no banker, you simply add it immediately, right out of the queue, just proceed immediately. So I think that looks good. Add a queue of players to serve as the banker. Now say add a banker queue. to allow players to queue up to serve as the banker. Let's see. Add a queue for players waiting. Just trying to get rid of some of the duplicate words here. Add a banker queue for players waiting to serve as the banker. There we go. I like that one. And as you can guess from my Twitch username, I really like queues. So I tend to add them in every project I work on. I think it's a fun little programming data structure. Of course, we're really using an array as a queue and not doing a real true queue, but it works. Again, this is another thing that I very much doubt is going to have a lot of activity. You know, how many players are we going to have at any point? How many of them are going to want to serve as the banker? I just don't imagine that being a huge issue. Let's check our documentation. I don't think we need to change anything, but we do talk about the banker command. So command guide, serve as the banker. We don't talk about queuing up at all here, but I think it's obvious. The responses will tell you that you've queued up. I think it's fine. I probably don't want to get into the weeds too much with the documentation and tell them too much about how this works, particularly because some of this is still kind of in the air. You know, my next thing to add here, or maybe not my next immediate thing, but one of the things I want to add is to add the ability to remove yourself as banker. And so at this point, we will need to update the documentation to note that that is that'll be an option. And so when we do that, we'll probably want to just reevaluate the documentation on the whole banker command and see if we want to talk about the queue or not there. But until then, I think the current documentation is fine. So yeah, so we've just changed the file. We've reviewed all these changes here. Pretty small, considering. Now we've tested, so let's go ahead and commit this. Add a banker queue for players waiting to serve as the banker. Alright, so let's go take a look at my notes here. So next up will be to allow the bot to serve as the banker if no one volunteers. And add ability to remove yourself as banker. Let's look at this one first. Allow the bot to serve as the banker if no one volunteers. So how would we do that? Does the bot even know what user it's running as? Because in Twitch CrapSpot, we know who we're running as because we load this Twitch auth file. We get username and auth. We don't actually pass that in anywhere. We can make it a parameter for init. So let's see here. So first we need a parameter to indicate who is the bot username. Let's say like bot name is null. Let's go look up init. Where is init? Here's init. bot name. We'll say this dot bot name is equal to and let's go add this call to here. Let's just twitch off that username. Do 2 lowercase. So that gives us our bot name. Let's go look up our craps table. And so we had a few cases where we would complain if there was no banker. So we'd get banker balance. And we complain if there is no banker. This banker queue, this banker. Why did I throw an exception to this one area here? That's kind of a bit of defensive coding. We shouldn't be here if we don't have a banker, but like here, I don't check. And here, let's see, here I don't check. Here I don't check. Although here we would set it. And it really should be set by the time we get here. Yeah, we just have this one weird spot. Where I threw out a bit of defensive code, and I remember doing that. I remember talking about it, and I like the concept of defensive coding, where it's like, you know, this is kind of an assertion. We should always have a banker by the time we get here. But we don't do this check elsewhere where we could. So it's just like, why? And I think rather than add the check, I'm just going to remove the check. So let's just go ahead and remove that. Let's undo that. I want to, let's do a git stash. Remove exception. Let's see, maybe when we don't have a banker, when getting the banker balance. Of course, this is a lengthy message. Remove exception when we don't have a banker and get in the banker balance. Let's see, when we have no banker, we get in the banker balance. Oh, that fits. Remove exception when we have no banker when we get in the banker balance effect. Remove exception when we have no banker, we get in the banker balance. That's right at the edge. It's 72 characters. I think that'll work. Get stash, pop. Let's bring our changes back out. And let's take a look. Just make sure that all of our changes are still present. Yeah, so we've added bot name. Bot name, bot name. But maybe let's make this be a little more consistent. Say bot username. Bot username. Alright, now let's look for all the places where we call this.banker. So we cleaned up the exception here. We removed it because I just didn't feel like having that everywhere. We don't do that anywhere else. Here we're adjusting our balance. Here we're selecting the next banker. Yeah, so the role command. So if we have no banker, what we probably need to do is add in a new function to ensure that we have a banker. Gotta check our craps room real fast, make sure no one's chatting here. Since I have two different chat rooms now, I need to keep an eye on two of them now. Yeah, so I think we need a new function to ensure we have a banker. Where would we want that to go? Init. Start roll timer. So we have all of our timers here. Balance adjustment timer. Roll timer. Craps timer. Process random roll. Do like check banker. Let's just grab from the banker command here. I'm looking at my stream preview, and it looks like my stream just crashed. And I've just gone offline. Let me see if I can restart my stream here. Well, I am sorry, guys, but my stream has crashed and I am not able to stop it. I know that Twitch was having some issues earlier, and possibly those issues are affecting me now. So unfortunately, I have no choice but to stop my stream. This recording is, I'm still recording, but I'm doing this for my stream. So I'm going to stop the recording here as well, and I will resume this when I have a chance. Sorry for that, guys. Just sometimes Twitch has issues, and you got to work with it as best you can.